is Omani from Team All France. I got a few members of the team here. We're about to do a power ranking of the leaders in order from the tier. We're going to do an average based on what we think each one of the leaders currently stands in the format. We'll do an alphabetical order, start with blue, then red, then green, then yellow. Starting with blue, then green, then red, then yellow.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Alright, so the first leader we have is infamous SSG Goku. It's the start of that Goku. This is his normal, and in his normal, when he swings, he untaps a blue energy. And when he awakens and he swings, he untaps 2 blue energies and draws a card. If you happen to have 5 more energies during a turn, he's also 5,000 points stronger. If I would say on the tier list, I could say this Goku is probably like tier 1.5, which would classify him as like a tier 1. Because I think that it's very strong that he has an energy regeneration effect. It's of course limited to blue, but I think that with blue having the amount of energy control that it has, it really benefits from having the ability to reuse its energy the way that it does. It allows him to extend plays, make strong combos, and play other guys to generate more board quicker. But it's a control card, so I think it loses to Vegeta in terms of the blue. Jamal?
I also agree. I think it's tier 1. And it does have about a 60-40 against Vegeta. Vegeta is the better leader, in my opinion.
Francis?
I would actually put it at tier 2 because of what Jamal said. Vegeta is the better leader. You don't really see this card being played as leader very often because Vegeta is obviously the better choice. It does have a really good effect, but again, Vegeta is the better choice in my opinion.
Corey?
Honestly, the Goku has probably the most synergy within its own element between its ability to recover energy and its own, if you have 5 or more energy, get this effect. The only real issue with it is that you kind of can't keep up your hand even when you're playing that type of deck, while Vegeta can do the same and Frieza nets you a card for basically the same thing, while not being limited to recovering you a blue one. So even though we're talking about blue technically, when you put it in the frame of things, it's tier 2 at that point.
What do you think, Jenny?
To be honest, I agree with everything that's said on the table, but I'm just gonna give it tier 1 just for the sake of the video. Next card.
Alright, so we got tier 1, tier 1, tier 1, tier 2, tier 2. It's gonna average this card right in tier 1.5, so we're gonna set it up here to tier 1.
We're on that side, but you want to kind of flip over.
Next on the list, we have everybody's famous, infamous Vegeta, who gains the ability Critical by taking a prize and adding it to the hand. And Critical, as we all know, kills a card and sends to the drop zone instead of adding it back to your hand when you lose life. Same thing on this side, except when you have 7 or more blue energy, he also becomes a 25k and draws a card when he attacks. It's an obvious tier 1 card. The effect text is so straightforward and so basic that if you can't see why it's a tier 1, you probably should really reevaluate your card ranking skills. It's an obvious ability. Crit negates hand advantage, where the only hand advantage in some games is to generate life. And by taking life, he controls his own awakening and can easily flip over and generate a huge card advantage. It's a very strong card, and blue is a very strong color.
I also agree tier 1 is an obvious thing for Vegeta. I also do agree with what Hernandez said in his video, that Vegeta is also an overrated card. And there will be a couple of leaders on this list that can easily deal with the Vegeta deck that nobody's taken the effort to look into yet. But for me, he's tier 1.
I agree with the both of you. He's definitely tier 1. You can't overlook the fact that he can gain a +1 card advantage with barely any drawback. Again, what Jamal said, he can be countered quite effectively because of his own ability. So, but I still put him as tier 1. I feel like a lot of people will play him, you know, in tournaments.
Corey.
I mean, yeah, he's obviously tier 1. The +1 to your hand is always nice. Controlling your awakening is always nice. And definitely the matter of control that he gives you by not giving your opponent hand advantage when he swings out is fantastic. He's definitely a double-edged sword though, because for all the bonuses you get, you very often can end up trying to, you know, you can try to go too hard and pull too many prizes back and did all the work for your opponent.
Right.
Vegeta.
Next card.
Next card.
1-1.
Definitely a tier 1. Everybody seems to be in agreement with that one. Now you have Beerus, the blue card. This particularly, when he attacks, if you have 3 or more energy on his front side, you KO a 2-drop or lower on your opponent's field. And on his other side, if you have 16 or more energy and you rest him, you in the game. When he attacks, you draw a card, and then you KO a 3-drop or lower. I believe this Beerus is definitely a tier 1 potential. I think that a lot of people overlook the fact that that early game is much more important, stabilizing your early game, than trying to play through a very heavy late game. I think that right now with Mono Blue and Blue Red and Champa and all of those other decks that have a very strong early game being tier 1, that Beerus plays a very efficient role as a niche counter. I just think that people are just too obsessed with the simplicity of Vegeta and Goku to really give it a shot. But looking deeper into it, ignoring the fact that it has a 16 rest, like a game that's really don't go that long, I think it has a very strong spot in the format and a lot of potential to counter some of the bigger decks.
I'm gonna go with tier 1 only because Beerus has absolutely great matchups with 2 of the decks I arguably say are the best in the format, which is the Champa deck and the Overlook Frieza deck. You can pretty much just play the Vegeta deck and slap Beerus right there, to be honest, and he will definitely put in as much work as Vegeta does in those 2 matchups. Everything else though is a little 50-50 or slightly less, but I'm gonna go with tier 1 though.
Francis.
I agree as well. I think he's definitely tier 1. Early and mid game, he's phenomenal when, you know, it comes to, you know, knocking out, maintaining board control. There are other ways to mitigate your, you know, have a hand control with Beerus. Well, not with Beerus, with other cards in blue with Beerus, such as Princess Speed, Vegeta, and stuff like that. But I feel like, again, he's really good as a tier 1.
Corey.
I'm gonna put him at tier 2 actually. Yes, he's just as good as they say, but to me that kind of drop off after turn 3, or if your opponent just isn't playing things that you really need to get off the board in the early game, he loses his punch. Now, this does mean he's pretty good against, like they said, he's pretty good against Champa and he's pretty good against Frieza, but some other decks don't really value their low cards like that. So it can be a little bit iffy, especially when you have simpler, faster options, in my opinion.
Trent.
Did you have to read it?
I'm going to go with tier 2 on this card because of its potential. Not because it's not played as much as the meta, which is Vegeta and Goku. For like a Broly deck, it's not really much, seeing as they're all about control anyway, and if they know you're playing that, they're not going to play their essential cards on the very first turn because of that effect. So that's why I stand with that card next.
Alright. So with 2 2s and 3 1s, I would probably safely say Beerus averages a tier 1.5. So we're going to sit him up here in the 1s because we're going to believe in halves. But definitely a tier 1.5. Last in the blue color, blue got 4 leaders. We got the Son Goku, the original blue uncommon one, with the standard uncommon print on the back. I didn't get the coming soon. But this one, when he attacks, he gains 1,000 power for every energy you have for the remainder of the turn. And when he's awakened, if you have 7 or more energy, he's a dual attacker that draws a card and gains 1,000 power till the duration of the turn. This card, to me, I would say a strong tier 2. He's kind of really holding it there. He's not doing a whole lot on the opening turns, and that's really where blue starts to take the small advantage. He's not good with keeping up in hand advantage like some of the other blues or the most obvious Vegeta. But this side here is what really kills me with this card. They put the once per turn on there, which I think was probably an attempt to balance him, but I think that really weakened his potential, that he only draws once and that he only gains his 1k a lot. I think, personally, if he drew 2 and gained 1k for each energy, at least 7, twice, that would be freaking amazing. And so, I believe that's a balance aspect, but I think that took away a lot of the power. Plus, he can't really control his awakening. He forces you to play some subpar cards like Resort Training just to actually get a punch out of him. So definitely tier 2 to me. Barely tier 2 like that. Mo?
I would say, I'd say tier 3. I just don't see anything good about the card at all, to be honest. I mean, you can play some crazy fun decks with that 1-drop blue card that gives something double strike. Gives the leader double strike. But other than that, I just can't see this card being more useful than any of the other blue leaders that we've just talked about. So I'm going to go for tier 3.
Francis?
I agree with Jamal on tier 3 because, again, there are far better choices than that Goku. Just doesn't do enough in the current meta, and probably no other in any other meta in the future. So, tier 3.
Corey?
I would put him in the low tier 2. Even they're not wrong. The other leaders are generally better. It is definitely a very fun play to try and drop Princess Monaco on him and give double strike to both of his dual attacks. The 1-drop blue card, that's what I'm talking about. It gives the leader double strike and then draws blue card. But overall, they're right. The other blues are definitely better leaders.
Trey?
Son Goku Son. Tier 2, next card.
I got 2, 2, low 2, 3, and 3. I would say because Corey and I obviously agree at a 2.5 at best, this is going to be a tier 3. It just averages down.